Okay, now. The direct was earlier today, and, well, of course, you know that if you're watching it live, Tim, for those watching the recording, well, yeah, well, the time has come to see what it was as I thought had a chance, what happened, what didn't happen, and what surprises laid in store. And also, what has, and also what might happen later. Okay, now. So first off, I said that these would not happen. No next Switch anything, no Pokemon Legends Z to A, no Xenoblade Chronicles X, no Oracle remakes, no Ocarina of Time remake, no GameCube HD Double Pack, no GameCube Online, no Kid Icarus Uprising, no 3D Open World Donkey Kong. You get the idea. I was completely right on all of these. None of these happened. So, therefore, all of those are correct. That's easy enough. Although again, it is worth noting that this title Pokemon Legends Z will probably be at the Pokemon Presents, assuming that does happen as it often does. And that is something that can be expected probably within the next couple of weeks. And again, Xenoblade Chronicles X probably going to be at the February Direct. Beyond that, nothing to say on what I said wouldn't happen. What about what I said would happen? What about what I said might happen? Well, for starters, in Nintendo World Championships NES edition, that was the second item to be showcased. How's that showing up? Yeah, seems to be showing up just fine. Yeah. And yeah, that disconnect reconnect pop-up I seem to have fixed. Just simply switch the chroma keying to blue instead of green. Anyway, so yeah, called it. Nintendo World Championships NES edition was showcased at the Direct. Likewise for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. in a segment to advertise it within just a week of within just a week or so of its launching. Again, was there any doubt? And of course, the big one, a Nintendo Switch Online update. It's about what I expected, well, in fact, actually more than I expected. I mean, I thought as much for Perfect Dark. I mean, I'm not sure if I said it in the speculation tape, but I mean, there was Perfect Dark was shown off at the Microsoft showcase, so it would only make sense for there to be a chance of Perfect Dark then showing up at the June Direct as some advertising for the new game. I mean, where did I put my mouse cursor? It only makes sense. I mean, yeah. Although, one thing I might, yeah, never mind. Yeah. I mean, let's face some. What was I gonna say? Getting distracted by stuff. Anyway. So. Anyway, what was I going with the whole thing about Perfect Dark? Well, other than the free advertising, I don't recall what else I was going to say on the matter. It seems to have slipped my mind. Well, I guess one detail is, aside from the free advertising for the new game, which actually, if you think about it, it's not really that well, here's the thing. Concerning Perfect Dark, first game was on the N64, which was before Xbox. The second game was on the Xbox 360. And the third game on the Xbox Series line. So, if you think about it, there is a simple track record to Perfect Dark. I mean, it's just it's just one game every other generation. Quite simple. So, yeah. Of course, the elephant in the room is there's now a section for M-rated and 64 titles everywhere. Of course, in Japan, the equivalent of and thereof um, in launched with a game that was to release over here, but released early over there, alongside a belated release of GoldenEye 007. Both because of the rating difference and the fact that the Japanese version launched for 2, the American version had to launch for 2 as well, so the title chosen, and now that is a detail of interest in and of itself. Turok Dinosaur Hunter. It's interesting on a few notes. First of all, it makes sense. One reason for them choosing is probably because Turok was not released in Japan back in the day. So a regional exclusive to balance out the score. Sort of. Although, come to think of it, I can't really think of any. Yeah. There really weren't too many times when Japan got something for N64 Online that we didn't get something. I mean, so I guess the only balancing in numbers is just the fact that there were 2 custom Robo games released at the same time, but then again, we did get Puzzle League at the same time to balance it out. So again, it's just one of those things where there had to be a more than one game within the executable at launch. So Turok was chosen. Of course, it is worth knowing that this one is available on the eShop, so kind of throws off some of my charts. I mean, perfectly good remaster of Turok. I mean, that probably won't get as many sales due to it being on Nintendo Switch Online now. Which I guess is fine. I mean, we have Wild Guns and Wild Guns. We have Wild Guns on SNES and Wild Guns Reloaded on the eShop. So again, it's just a matter of time, I guess. I mean, it was 2018, I think it was, that Turok came to Switch. Yeah. So I guess it's just so again, I guess just enough, and it's just a matter of time, and I guess time was up for eShop exclusivity. Of course, one other detail about Turok, it kept the acclaim badge on the box art, whereas Iggy's Wrecking Balls did not. It had it shoddily replaced with the Throwback Entertainment logo. But of course, now that both, now that everywhere has the option for M-rated content, I guess we can expect Resident Evil 2 to show up eventually. Of course, moving on to other details of the Nintendo Switch Online update. I mean, we finally have 4 swords. A Link to the Past 4 swords on a Virtual Console system. I mean, of course, the Nintendo Switch Online is perfect for 4 swords because it requires multiplayer, something which was a bit difficult to do on original hardware. Something which Nintendo Switch Online simplifies just by the way it works. So, and of course, I called it. I called that it would that it would happen eventually. Also, Metroid Zero Mission. People have been asking for that for a while. Of course, with the exception of Turok, which was partially in there for the sake of having one more title to introduce the M launcher with well, all three of all three of the ones that are released everywhere, I'll just say, all share one thing in common. And that's not them being first party or former first party titles. That's a matter for a little later on. Yeah. Getting back to the chart, when I went to the Olympic Games, Paris 2024 did not happen. So, it was now or never. So I guess it's never. I guess sales of Paris 2020 simply were not there. So I guess it's reasonable to assume that at the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games series might just be cancelled. We didn't get anything for or the Winter Olympics either. So, or maybe Sega just didn't want to do it. I don't know. Also, Hyrule Warriors: The Imprisoning War, that wasn't there either. I guess it could happen in September instead, but unlikely. At this point, I'll just say it's not going to happen this year. Might happen next year, but, well, admittedly, there is something I will say on the matter a little later on, but it's clear that Fairy Tale 2 is what Koei Tecmo had to bring to the table this time. So rather than a new Hyrule Warriors game. So maybe later. Also, with Metroid Prime, also Metroid Prime 2, not there either. And, however, yeah, Metroid Prime 4 was. Uh, I forget the subtitle they gave it. It'll probably come back to me later, but uh, it was there. As I said, 4 and 24. Mostly. Turns out it's going to be delayed 1 year to 2025. So, half right. Actually, I'll just quickly look it up. It was Metroid Prime 4, Beyond, I think. It said, yep, Beyond. So I'll just add that to the chart. Metroid Prime 4. Oh, yeah. Oh. How long has that been that way? Sorry, you just can't keep it always type and keep the screen lit at the same time. So, anyway, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We will be coming out next year, and it's about time. And seems to be continuing on on with, and also features a character from the critically panned uh, Federation Force, which I think was an important detail elsewhere, or as well. But anyway, yeah. So, oh, oh, there is a pattern here that I can still pull from concerning the Metroid series. I mean, one for the Metroid series. Now, we got Metroid Prime 1 remastered, or a year or so ago. We now have Metroid Prime 4, or Beyond, coming out of the woodwork finally. It's reasonable to assume now that 2 and 3, or at least just 2, might show up I'm just gonna give this a slightly different color. Yeah. Might show up later. At the September Direct. You're not just saying that because as I got it wrong and I'm trying to find an excuse for why I might not be wrong. No. There is something to this. Pikmin 4. We got Pikmin 3 Deluxe. We got Pikmin 3 Deluxe, then a year or two later, we got a teaser for Pikmin 4. Then a direct later, we got more information about Pikmin 4 and the surprise release of 1 and 2. So it is my hypothesis that the missing Metroid remasters will be following Pikmin's lead. So therefore, Echoes and Corruption might show up at the um up at the September or February direct to compensate, or not to compensate, to promote to Metroid Prime 4 further. Of course, I do wonder if what the chances are of there perhaps also being a remaster of Federation Force. Yeah, it didn't do so well, but would it do better on Switch with better controls? Because the problem with because part of the problem with Federation Force was it was released during a Metroid drought, a famine of Metroid content. Whereas now, it's the perfect storm. I mean, the Metroid series has been reinvigorated. First, Metroid Dread came out, and first Metroid Dread finally got finished after over a decade. Then, no wait, it was Metroid Prime 4 being announced, then uh, Dread finally coming out of the woodwork after many years. Then the surprise announcement and release of Metroid Prime Remastered. And now we finally have and now we've finally seen a teaser for Beyond. And there's also there's also the possibility that we could, of course, also see um, yeah, and we could possibly, yeah. So either way, Echoes and Corruption could happen at in September or February, and maybe Federation Force somewhere along the way, but hard to say with that. Moving on, I get farther down and into the less likely section. Kirby was a no-show, so no Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. Nor was there anything for Stretchmo. Both those must have just been simple trademark renewals. And, of course, there's therefore nothing to that. At least at the moment. And I guess we can't rule out September. Or a surprise release in August for Stretchmo's case. Now, what about The Legend of Zelda DS or 3DS Remaster? Well, I only said that because I thought it was a more likely scenario than the ridiculous scenario that was the Oracle remakes. But I can see what now, given the evidence, and given what was seen today, given what was seen today, it seems clear how, if that leak was real, how a mistake could have been made. I mean, it was obviously not the Oracle games, nor was it a remaster from the DS or 3DS. What it was, however, was something new. Something which which appears to have used some of the assets from Link's Awakening. I mean, the Oracle games, I think used I'm pretty sure used very similar sprites for Link. Whereas this new project seemed to have used almost the same or almost the same 3D model of Link from Link's Awakening. That explains the confusion. But of course, what was it? A new game entirely. Which, admittedly, I did bring up the possibility of when I wrote that down, I think. I mean, my whole point was that Brezzo had been awfully quiet lately. So, yeah. What was the name of that? I think it was Echoes of Wisdom, perhaps? Yeah. Echoes of Wisdom. A title which many have been wanting for a long time. And we're quite excited. We're probably quite excited to finally finally have that wish come true. of course, this is also one that, again, I heard, and this one was something that was leaked not too long ago. Of course, though I didn't rule out though, of course, it's just one of those things where I just wasn't sure if a whole new Legend of Zelda adventure could happen in this close to the end of of or so close to the or this close to the arrival of another system, and just brush it off as just being something I already suspected, something different that I had already previously suspected. But the item I suspected didn't happen, and this did. Now, it's just a matter of waiting for more information. Because this is a very intriguing title, and that's not just because of the premise. When Link shot the crystal on his, well, as the rift was taking him, the bow he used was a Zonai bow. So the question is, how does this fit in to everything we've known all this time? Is this the next Link after the Hero of the Wild? I mean, is this one of the first Links? Is this one of the first Links after the Imprisoning War? What's to say? Who's to say? I mean, I guess this. For all we know, this could be a prequel to the Minish Cap. But no, it's too similar to the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom era. The soldiers that had approached Zelda uh, as he was coming home. One moment. Oh, wrong button. Yeah, in here somewhere. Yeah. The soldiers in question, might have to move the chart a little so everything can be seen a little better. There. I mean, those soldiers, they were dressed in a stylized version of this armor. Of course, probably easier to identify for sure if uh, yeah, probably not wise, but yeah, yeah, that's much closer. Pretty much just like that, only stylized to fit the design of the game. Which I mean, might be a bit problematic if not going around with, at the very least, a basic sword. And yes, I know that's the wrong sword. I just don't have a soldier's sword on me, I don't think. Yeah. So it's either, yeah, so yeah, no soldier's broadsword. So a royal broadsword or the master sword will have to do. In fact, I'll just stick to the master sword, despite it being inaccurate. Although, come to think of it, could have just been the stylization, but that did not look like the master sword that Link was holding. Something about it looked different. Yeah. So, yeah. Of course, I guess it's just one of those things where it's just supposed to be. I mean, it is a bit of an odd thing. I mean, yes, I mean you have soldiers, yeah, and a few weapons that are. You have soldiers and a weapon that is from the Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom era. Yet it's Ganon and I think at least uh, I think at least at first Zelda uh, with were and so Ganon and Zelda they both look like they're Link to the Past designs. Or the Link to Between Worlds. Either way, that design is something that has carried over into multiple titles. Of course, and also, I think the Deku Tree looked like the Ocarina of Time version. Yet, they had the pedestal from the Breath of the Wild version. Which, then again, I suppose having a pedestal for the Master Sword is just a thing that's common. But then again, if there's a pedestal for the Master Sword and that sword did not look like the Master Sword, again, I guess it could have just been based on a design of the Master Sword from before how it looks nowadays. But hmm. Either way, I don't think that. Either way, it's probably just a design difference because I mean, otherwise, it's clear that they're with this game is trying to standardize some of the non-standard elements of the Legend of Zelda series. For example, having a pedestal for the Master Sword next to the Deku Tree. In the design of armor for soldiers of Hyrule. Things like that. Anyway, moving on. In Fire Emblem Echoes Genealogy of the Holy War. Yeah, I did doubt that this was going to happen, and probably should have left it not in the not happening section. I mean, Fire Emblem was a no-show. I mean, with Dragon Quest HD 2D, let's face it, there was no getting this one wrong. I mean, there was a teaser that said that implied news was going to be soon, and we got it. Although interesting how it turns out that this was not a placeholder name. I thought they would have done something more than that. Thought wrong. Although, one detail was off with one of the leaks. The leak accurately got that Dragon Quest 1 and 2 would also be revealed to be part of it. But instead it's a separate release that's happening after. So, close enough I guess, but oh well. Although I do wonder if this could end up being a full series if sales are good. I mean, why stop at just the first 3? I mean, at the moment, there aren't really that many options for playing Dragon Quest 4. At least with the first 3. I mean, at least with the first 3, you had a version on Switch before with those mobile ports. That, I mean, the controversial ones that people didn't quite care for the design of. Pick up the skull. Never mind. I just wanted to. No, I really wanted to throw that skull off a cliff. Yeah, but the lag was just too much. Anyway. So, yeah, we had the first 3 Dragon Quest games available on Switch already. And it is good that we're getting better versions of them now. But I do hope that we also get 4. Because what we could really use is a pixel remaster for all the games that were released in 2D. And just a simple, of course, just a simple HD port will do for the ones that were released in 3D. Or alternatively, if some of these games already are in partially in 3D, yeah, that's something I probably should have looked up. Um, just gonna do a quick search on the Dragon Quest series itself. Is there anything that says Inkling and exactly which games were released where? Well, I guess I just have to go through all of these. Let's see, 4 that was available on. Yeah. A remake was made for the DS and then later ported to Android and iOS. So, let's see. And then, let's see. Dragon Quest V. That one was on the Famicom. That was on the. Not. That one was available on. Okay, so that one also got a DS version, it would seem. Said it was just on the SNES at first. Oh. That's what I get for. Yeah. Where'd that stand go? Fine. Okay. I'm just gonna put the drawer. Just wanted to adjust the camera. Can't be having that off the stand until I get that cord replaced. And along with the battery. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah. 4, 5. So, about 6. That was also SNES, which got a DS release on confirmed that that one was uh yeah. So yeah, I suppose just yeah, I guess depending on how it turned out, just a port of the iOS and of the mobile version of the S version would do. course, then we get into, of course, then, okay, so then it was 7 on PlayStation, which was also available for the 3DS, so, oh, better graphics there. Then, of course, that was also available for mobile. So yeah, maybe an HD 2D port of, HD 2D remake of 4 through 6. Not so sure about 7 because that was first released on a 3D system. Oh, and then 8, yeah. Just outright port the PlayStation 2 version. And already. Of course, looks like 9 might have some issues there. I mean, with 8, there's a version of it for both PlayStation 2 and 3DS, which I guess both would yield similar graphics. Both would, that's something which could therefore be pulled from. So, and of course, the rest already on Switch. 10 and 11 already on Switch, and 12 hasn't come out yet, so. So, yeah. Hard to tell what to do with Dragon Quest. As far as getting it on Switch. I mean, an argument could be made either way. Either recreate the first 3 again, and recreate 4 through 6 again, or just go with the mobile version of and that's derived from the DS version. Who's to say? Anyway, of course, Fantasian, that was also revealed to finally be coming to consoles and no longer be locked to no longer be locked to iOS. So good to finally have that over. And yeah, it's only a couple more that I got actually. I mean, with Sonic X Shadow Generations, that was surprisingly a no-show. I honestly thought the next big Sonic game would show up. It wasn't there. I mean, admittedly didn't have the best hopes for or Sonic Rumble. Metal Slug Tactics, that's an interesting one. Honestly thought that Metal Slug Tactics would be there, if nothing else, as part of a sizzle reel. But no, instead just a new Metal Slug game. Entirely new one. Or entirely different Metal Slug game, I mean. Also, this one, uh, where's the, yeah. This one is one that didn't even show up. This one was released before the direct, so therefore it's automatically therefore it was automatically disqualified. Then the remaining ones I thought would be in the sizzle reel. There was no this direct didn't even have a sizzle reel. And I guess there was sort of one in Japan, but none of these were there. And then the rest, absolutely nothing for the rest. And none of these other ones happened. Mega Man, not even Mega Man, which was heavily rumored. So now, of course, one thing I will say is that, getting into what was there, I'll be going a little out of order. Seeing as I brought up Mega Man, well, we finally got something that I had been wanting for a while, but wait a minute, why? Yeah, I guess it was just something that it was just simply outright forgotten. Here's the thing, multiple times I had said that I had listed the possibility of Marvel vs. Capcom. And all those times when I put Marvel vs. Capcom on the list, it didn't happen. Figures. The one time that I actually put it actually in the time when I finally give up on the time I give up on bothering to mention it is the time when it actually happens. Is the time when it finally happens. So yeah, good to finally have Marvel vs. Capcom on something modern, such as the Nintendo Switch. It's about time too. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, At Games has had it, or has had a cabinet. I mean, no, not At Games. Arcade One Up has had had a cabinet for a couple years now. You think Capcom would be able to afford one of its own items? Yet it's finally here, and exactly what I wanted. I mean, the in the first in the earliest Marvel vs. Capcom games. I mean, in the original arcade versions, and alongside a few other or similar games. I mean, let's face it. I wasn't and expect it wasn't. I didn't ask for much. I mean, I knew that the newer games would be harder to make happen, but I figured if nothing else, why not have the original arcade versions happen? Especially considering the fact that there's already emulators in use that can run him. I mean, all those other Capcom fighting games probably use the same It probably use the same boards as Marvel vs. Capcom, so therefore shouldn't have been that difficult to make happen, aside from licensing and from Marvel. And now it's finally here. Now let's hope that Bandai Namco hurries up and brings over Tekken, because because once that happens, for the most part, we'll have a complete selection of arcade fighting games. Yeah, I guess we'd be missing the original arcade versions of the first two Killer Instincts, and of course Soul Calibur, and the original, and of course the pre-Extreme sub-series that are alive. Okay, so not a complete lineup, but much closer. I'm sure it wouldn't be that difficult for Koei Tecmo to bring over Dead or Alive. Though I guess the Extreme series probably sells better, despite not even being despite only being available in one region. Might import that one day. So, not sure. So, I think I'd prefer the fighting game. But anyway, another surprise is that we got Ace Attorney Investigations finally coming over. Of course, I didn't bother putting it on the list because I thought it was too soon. We just got uh, Apollo Justice. I thought Capcom would probably do Mega Man next and then come back to Ace Attorney. yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm glad to finally have all the all these Attorney games finally on one system. Well, for the most part. I mean, there's still the Professor Layton crossover missing, but then again, at the moment, there's almost no Professor Layton games on Switch. So maybe that will come. So maybe the crossover will come over if there's a um ever a Professor Layton collection on Switch. But otherwise, it's finally here, and it's just as I thought would, and just as I said would happen previously, somewhere along the way. I mean, the sequel has finally been localized. So the entire, so pretty much the entire, so or mainline, no, pretty much all the Ace Attorney games are now here. Beyond that, of course, another big piece of news is that the Mario and Luigi series has finally returned officially. Yeah, and a full 3D Mario and Luigi game. So, yeah, I guess Nintendo's really been on a roll with reviving in um in past Mario franchises. Yeah, it'll definitely be something to look forward to. Although, with so many in a row, I guess there is the question of are there any plans to I mean, are there? I mean, I guess the question is, how many Mario RPGs are in the queue exactly? I mean, of course, I use the term RPG loosely because here's the thing. I could easily see perhaps some Super Paper Mario also being ported over for the sake of just having the entire original trilogy on Switch somehow. I mean, I don't think we're going to be getting a... Of course, I doubt that a... Um, uh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if a regular, or if just a regular Super Mario RPG will get a sequel, all in of itself. I mean, I suppose it could get a continuation as part of one of the other series, though. Oh, come on, uncrouch already. Yeah. That's all, folks. Come on, just let me get to this nice Zora bridge. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah. Good to see... Oh, not again. That's a claymore. I wasn't looking for a claymore. Yeah. Anyway, so 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 besides the grand return of Mario and Luigi, well, let's see, yeah, no Mario Sports of any kind like people were expecting. However, then again, that doesn't mean that we won't be getting something next year, or in September, because out of the blue, it would seem, we got an update for Nintendo Switch Sports, which added which added basketball. So therefore, how do we know that there isn't a Mario Hoops game in the works? I mean, because it is likely that Nintendo Switch Sports could be a place where the physics and such for a Mario Sports game could be tested out before being used in a full-on game, or the other way around. So, basketball finally being added to Nintendo Switch Sports means there could be something to that, other than just Nintendo deciding to add stuff to a game a couple years later. I mean, it's not unprecedented for Nintendo to go back and update a game that wasn't on everyone's radar. I mean, remember the online update for Super Mario Party? Oh, speaking of which, new Super Mario Party. This is something that I heard rumors of, but thought nothing of it. I guess I just thought that it was for the next system. But I guess I may have miscalculated it a bit. I mean, and I'm not just saying that because we got a new Mario Party game announced. Because, I mean, let's face it, 2024 is not the final year of the Nintendo Switch. 2025 is. So, so a Mario Party game releasing in the second to last year of the system. And again, one thing I mentioned previously but didn't publish on YouTube was that was simply that uh, one moment. Anyway. Yeah. So yeah, miscalculated with the potential of a new Mario Party, but oh well. And yeah, so almost done with this scene. This is going on a little long, and there is something else I should attend to. So, oh yeah, I mean, there was a third party title that I think I mentioned and taking interest in that after seeing in in the Japanese version of the February Direct. I forget the name though. It was one that with the one that people some people might mistake for a game about maze. Yeah, glad that that's getting getting an English language port. Of course, that Danganronpa Gaiden looks interesting as well. I mean, Stray is something I was hoping would come to Nintendo Switch. Good to finally have it. Despite it looking a little rough around the edges. But something which I guess might be something which would be cause for uh, an upgrade port for an upgrade patch in a couple years. And yeah, nothing else really comes to mind except one thing. I mean, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. Yeah, I don't know why it didn't make the list. I mean, it should have. It was supposed to be on the list of titles that I thought had a chance because it fit a perfect pattern. I mean, Donkey Kong Country Returns was sold on every system since it was released, non-stop. Even already had an HD version through the Nvidia Shield TV. I saw that one coming a mile away. Yeah, why didn't I write that down? Yeah, that was quite the slip up on my part. But well. I mean, I knew that. The fact is, I knew full well that at either Donkey Kong Country Returns or maybe a Jungle Beat, though that one doesn't have as strong a chance because it was only because that's only a because that was yeah only on GameCube, Wii, and Wii U. Whereas, but which so it was second place candidate just because of that and the fact that the name recognition isn't as great. But anyway, with getting back to Donkey Kong Country because it's the last thing I am going to bring up unless I remember something last minute. Yeah. Um. Yeah. One. Yeah. I mean, again, it was on Wii U, 3DS, and Nvidia Shield TV. On top of having having iconography in um promotional artwork for the Donkey Kong area of the theme park. All signs were pointing to it. Why didn't I put it on my list? But one other thing I called with this, it does indeed look like they swapped the models of Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong for the ones from Tropical Freeze. And I checked Game Explain's graphics comparison. The models do appear to have better fidelity on the fur. So, yeah, that's something that would have easily been done by simply swapping out the models. Especially seeing as it's the same engine, and seemingly. Otherwise, just a simple old HD port. I suspect that the better textures were probably carried over from the NVIDIA Shield port, as was the buttons. But then again, that would have been a given regardless, because the 3DS had the buttons. But if I had to guess, it'll probably have the motion controls as well for those who want them, because I think that's how it was with Tropical Freeze. Yeah, but that's enough for now. I mean, not much else to say about Returns or the Direct. So, should probably be on my way. So, cut.